want you and that young man to tie that knot. I'm gonna pray for you. And I want you to hold on to God's unchanging hand, because he helped Joshua fight the battle of Jericho. Yes.
It's the old
He helped Daniel get out the lion's den. He helped Gilligan get off the island.
Let me get straight to the business. Got them lions in the building. Why you lying to the children? Why you lying to the children? RIGHTEOUS. Man, you know I've been to bed. Man, they know no contest. Yahuwah, he do the bless. We will not see you tomorrow. Cause you cannot go to Thora. All the sons and all the daughters. Standing hard with big manodas. But my son, he made me Taurus. On that line, I'm still a Taurus. Karate kicking Chuck Norris, 4-5 on my waist. If he started, will not hesitate to get retarded. Oh lordy, he ain't got a PowerPoint, he farted. He's running to the hills like a Philistine. Jihad hitting Hamites with the guillotine. Situation turned up with the Ratchet team. JJ 7000 to the debate league. Yeah, I know them haters gon' hate me, but he won't debate me. Pistol off safety. Respond, come wake me. If I don't get up, nigga shake me. If he don't show up, then he fake G. I touch down and make these nigga nuts hate me. Dear brother, ballin' and crawling all the way from H-time. Let me get straight to the business. Man, them lions in the building. Why you lying to them children? Why you lying to them children? You gon' cry, you gon' get it. Me, I'm like a frog, nigga, ribbit. Of course, it's in the spirit. I just got the Porsche, she can steer it. Mito got the raw, Shaq and Willie. Lamborghini doors, you better not spill it. Mama's high, say I'm more than just a villain. Mama's cry, arms open wide for her children. Suicide, immortalized as the realest, Death by cop, black suicide. Let me get straight to the business. Got them lions in the building. Why you lying to them children? Why you lying to them children? RIGHTEOUS. Man, you know I've been there. Man, they know they no contest. Yahuwah, he get Wow, what's that? Why didn't take it over? Number one debate league, you heard me? When it's up, it's stuck. I'm stepping on everything, nigga. Metaphorically, of course.
Shalom.
Shalom, go ahead. Introduce yourself and get started.
Alrighty. Shalom. First and foremost, giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator, the Maker of heaven and earth. My name is Yeshiah Yisrael. For those who do know and for those who don't know, I am an author. The purpose in me coming upon this platform and upon this channel is to sit there and share the information that a brother has been acquiring and getting into for quite some time in this particular case. We hope and pray that everybody is well and will be better, as is the stance upon the platform that I particularly promote and support. Alrighty, so I've been in the understanding of Israel since I was a child. I'm now 43 years old. I am what you call, for the lack of a better term, a Tanakh brother or Old Testament base. So that way that could be noted for reference purposes. I hope and pray that that right there is not a stickler against anybody and so forth and so on, as is not the case in that particular matter. What I'm going to be talking about, brothers and sisters, in this particular case is the book that a brother has came out with some time ago. And we're going to be doing this, brothers and sisters, by PowerPoint and so forth. So this is the first time I've been on this particular platform. And what we're going to do is have it on the Lions Den platform and as well as my platform, which is under the channel Mordeh Yeshiah History Lessons. I also have Mordeh Yeshiah Torah Lessons, also have Mordeh Yeshiah History Lessons Part 2. My Facebook page that I generally use is Mordeh Yeshiah Israel or Yeshiah Orthodanite. I have published over 10 books in the course of less than 10 years and given honor and praise to the Most High in that particular case. So what we're going to talk about, brothers and sisters, in this is in part one of the main books that I have been blessed to be able to come out with and to promote. All right, so I'm going to ask if I can be heard. Let me know, and let us, brothers and sisters, get into this. As you can see there, giving a shout out to my sister and my lady in my life, Sarah Michaela, who is definitely a support, and I'm going to show her book as well, Family. All right. Looking at this in this particular case. So if I have clearance from the moderator, let me know if I can pull up the PowerPoint and we can go from this point.
We can hear you and pull it up.
Okay, no problem. Let me get started in this particular case. All righty. Let's start from here. Shalom, my brother Yirmiyahu. And we're going to go from the slideshow and from this in this particular case. This is an unusual matter in that I'm on another's platform. For those who do know, a brother was part of camps, and I, in no way, shape, form, or fashion, bash, disrespect, insult anyone who runs a camp, in a camp, or so forth. My mother, when I was a child, brought me to a camp when I was a baby. So I can't, in my mouth, though I personally am not part one, nor a kid to ever be in one, ever again say that one should not do so, because that was the platform that the Most High used in order for me to come into this particular understanding. All right. It has been quite some time since I have been. Nonetheless, I do appreciate the respect and the support. Subscribe to their Lions Den and my Mordeh Yeshiah History Lessons channel. And this, we will discuss the books a brother wrote. All right. So without any further ado, I'm asking you all to get your pens, your pads, your paper, and take notes. Now, you might see on the screen that there are two things showing me. One, I use my phone for the audio, and I use my computer to do the slides itself. All right. My telephone number, brothers and sisters, is 908-587-4841. Again, that is, brothers and sisters, 908-587-4841. I can be reached at Yahoo at YYISRAEL22 at yahoo.com. All right. Now, bear with me because this is an unusual thing, because I'm usually on my platform and so forth and so on. But being upon another's platform, just looking at it in that particular case. All right. So thank you all for that. And let us get into this. What made me want to write? These are usual questions that I'm asked. I always wanted to write a book. I was inspired to do so after reading first From Babylon to Timbuktu by Rudolph Windsor and Israelites and Jews, The Significant Difference by Kohen Mikael. Now, both of these books you can get, brothers and sisters, on Amazon by looking up the author or by looking up the title of the book. I read From Babylon to Timbuktu when I was 15 and Israelites and Jews, The Significant Difference when I was 17. May both those authors be blessed in their lives. Now, you might have seen that it is titled From Avaris to Alabama, and we're going to get into this. I am okay, brothers and sisters, with screenshots being done in this particular case from the platform in this particular matter. All right. So just want that to be noted for reference purposes. Let's get into this, brothers and sisters. These are the books that inspired me to want to become an author. 43 years old, not being self-centered. I first heard about the book From Babylon to Timbuktu when I was about maybe 7 or 8 back in 1987, 1988. And that book was first written before I was even born, when both my parents, before they came into this understanding, were teenagers. All right? So Rudolph Windsor, to my knowledge, did not expect his book to go to the levels in which it did. So that right there just goes to show, when you have something to be done before the Most High, you don't sit there and have a reason not to, have a reason to procrastinate, have a reason to slip and slide, have a reason to sit there and say tomorrow. Solomon stated, boast not for tomorrow, for you not know what a day may bring. All right. So these are things, brothers and sisters, we care to bring out for reference purposes. All righty. Let us, brothers and sisters, get into this. The book you see on the right-hand side was sold in America and in the land of Israel, and the community there in Dimona. Kohen Mikael is my Hebrew teacher, as well as, in many cases, my advisor in certain other aspects. Seeing, for the lack of a better term, black men write books, it definitely inspired me to want to sit there and get books out there. Now, why did I write the book From Avaris to Alabama, brothers and sisters? Is because within, say, the past 10 years, there has been a thought or concept that we were not over from the lands of the East, but originated autonomously, if I'm using the word correctly, from the West, as if nobody came over from the Eastern Hemisphere over to the West, even though to this day, there are many who come from the Eastern Hemisphere to the Western. So now, copying the style of my teachers, I named the book I wrote From Avaris to Alabama. Avaris, brothers and sisters, is Hutwawet of ancient Egypt. The Bible also referred to it as Goshen. You understand? The ancient Egyptians one time referred to it as Pi-Ramses. Now that, for those who are following, is where the Israelites were enslaved inside of northeastern Egypt. 2 years or so ago, me and my lady Sarai went over to Egypt. We was in Cairo. Cairo is southwest of where the Israelites were at. So that's something we care to point out for reference purposes. All right. The books are available on Amazon.com and on BarnesandNobles.com for those who are interested. All right. Let's continue in this. Now, the books is shout out to the people who made the covers. The book you see there, brothers and sisters, on the right-hand side, From Avaris to Alabama, The Journey of the Hebrews, is part of the book called From Assyria to America. All right, so just want to point that out, if we will, brothers and sisters, for reference purposes. What you're seeing right there, From Assyria to America, was written back in the year 2000, brothers and sisters. All right, for those who are interested in knowing that in that particular case. I want to show on the camera, if I may, because I generally use no camera, but I want to show for the audience on the camera, if I may, right? In this particular case, what we're talking about. What you're seeing right here is called From Assyria to America, Part 2. All right, you can get all of this, brothers and sisters, online for those who are interested in that particular case. All right, so just want to show that for reference purposes. Now, the book that you see there, From Avaris to Alabama, is the shortened form of the book that you see on the right-hand side, From Assyria to America. Alabama, brothers and sisters, as we know, is a state within the United States. But did you know that Alabama, brothers and sisters, was, all right, for those who are interested, a tribe among the Native Americans? Just want to show the books periodically as we go along in this particular matter. All right. So, again, this is available on Amazon for those who are interested. Let's continue and show further what we're talking about. From Assyria to America, the travels of the Hebrews. And by Hebrews, in distinction, we're talking about the house of Israel or the Israelites. The table of contents of that book is From Egypt to America, From Avaris to Alabama, which is the shortened form that you see for those who are interested. the Romans and the Israelites. In that chapter, I talk about the matter from Pompey of Rome going all the way down to the timing of Hadrian. So Pompey of Rome, brothers and sisters, being assassinated by one of the Ptolemies in the land of Egypt, it goes from that into eventually Julius Caesar, and then eventually what wound up happening with Augustus, Tiberius, Caligula, Claudius, Nero, Vespasian, Titus, Domitian, etc., covering the matters that happen in what you call the Kittos battle, as well as the Bar Kokhba battle. And before that, the matter with Masada and the situation we always as Israelites are talking about was 70 AD. All right. So just want to point that out for reference purposes. How to teach Deuteronomy 28. What that chapter gets into, brothers and sisters, is talking about the matter because, no disrespect intended, you have some kind of quote apologists who teach that when we say the Lord will bring you to Egypt in ships, that we are incorrect. That is part of what that book is talking about in that particular chapter. It gets into the history of it. It gets into the matter of Josephus. It gets into the matter of Munter, the Roman historian, that Christian apologists try to use against quote the Black Hebrew Israelites, which we don't call ourselves Black Hebrew Israelites. We call ourselves Israelites, Hebrews, or Israelites. All right, just to be candid in that particular case. Then the situation that wound up happening with Hadrian's Market in the situation that happened, because when you go in Deuteronomy 28, verse 68, it starts off by saying and. That means it's a conjunction, so you got to read before that to know what happened. Real quick, when people attempt to state that Deuteronomy 28 from verse 48 to verse 68 is only brothers and sisters about the Romans and the Israelites, we have an issue. Deuteronomy 28 verse 53, all right, it distinctly says what? That sadly you shall eat the flesh of your sons and your daughters. That began to happen in the 8th century BCE when you go in the book of Kings during the time of King Ahaziah. So we see that the prophecies in Deuteronomy 28 began to happen while Israel was still inside of the land. So when you go in Deuteronomy 28 and it says these curses shall pursue you and overtake you and anything you set your hand to do. So while Israel was scattered in verse 64 and then put up out of their land in verse 64 and worshiping gods of wood and stone in verse 64, they have no rest for the sole of their foot in verse 65, wondering when should be day and night in verse 66. And in verse 67, brothers and sisters, the same matter, and then you brought back into Mizraim or Egypt by ships. Brothers and sisters, Mizraim does not mean Egypt in Hebrew, brothers and sisters. It comes, brothers and sisters, from the word ma'zor, which means distress. So now Garab in Hebrew means sock, like you put on your foot. Garabayim will mean socks because it's dual. Nakir means nashtu. Nakirayim means nashtus because you have two of them. So if Ma'zor seen as distress or siege in Deuteronomy 28 verse 63 and in Lamentations chapter 1, so Matzrayim means double distress, not Egypt, by language matters. That's what we want to point out. That chapter gets into all of that. Now, from Ghana to Georgia, brothers and sisters, that chapter gets into the fact of Israel scattering on their own volition into Ghana and then taken from there to Georgia. Why? Because, as stated earlier, some brothers and sisters state that the Atlantic slave trade is a hoax, that we was already here, and that is partly why that chapter is written. From Ghana to Georgia. Next, from Dahomey to Delaware. Next, from Nigeria to Niagara. Now, where's Niagara? It's in upstate New York. Did you know that New York was a slave state, brothers and sisters, until the 1820s? Madagascar to Manhattan. Did you know they would take captives from Eastern Africa and drop them off by the Portuguese working along with the Dutch and the Danish? So that is what those chapters get into. All right. That book is over 400 pages, the size of it being 6x9. The book is independently published using KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, a sub-company of Amazon. The book is $30, and from those who bought it say it is worth such. All right, so just want to point that out for reference purposes with the time allotted. Thank you for that, family. All righty, let's go on. From Avaris to Alabama. The book, brothers and sisters, that we will be primarily talking about. Now, when you go in your own time and look in the description, you will see the links to my lady's book, as well as the books that you're seeing here, brothers and sisters, for reference purposes. Now, this again, right, primarily will be the book that we will be talking about in this case. So I'm asking you all to get your pens, your pads, your paper, and to take notes. All righty. Thank you for that, family. Let's look. I'm going to, from here, get the laser pointer. You see where it says Avaris, and I'm going to show with the matter over here, right, with the pen, if you will. Looking at this right here. Avaris. That was also called Perun Nefer, Pivra Amse, as well, brothers and sisters, as Hutwawet. The Israelites refer to it as Goshen, and by the time you get to the time of the Septuagint, they refer to it as Kasan in the Greek. So it's talking about the same landmass. All right, let's continue. Right hand side. That is part of the mud brick pyramids that you've seen built in what they call the Middle Kingdom of Egypt. Remember, brothers and sisters, when we spoke about the matter in Exodus, for those who've been following, right? That the Israelites were making bricks from straw. So the Middle Kingdom of Egypt is when they start talking about the mud brick pyramids. The dynasties before that in the Old Kingdom and the dynasties say after that in what they call the New Kingdom of Egypt use stone or stone quarries, brothers and sisters. The Middle Kingdom, when you start talking about Senusret, when you start talking about Amenehet, and so forth and so on, you'll begin to see where mud was used to sit there and make the bricks. The book of Josephus and many Israelites been left to ponder why does Josephus say the Israelites was made to make pyramids? That's what we're talking about. And I go over that part in that book. All right, let's continue. Ipura and a captive. What are we talking about? This is dated, brothers and sisters, to the timing of Egypt. And as we can see here, one is a captive shown in that. So when some brothers, not for debate purposes, and sisters say Egypt had no slaves, the ancient Egyptians never said they didn't have no chemnu, the Egyptian word for slave, in that particular case. Sir Alan Gardiner is one of their highlighted scholars. In his book called Egypt of the Pharaohs, he spoke about the Amu, brothers and sisters, which is the Egyptian term referred to as Asiatics, which included Israelites and others being enslaved in the Middle Kingdom of Egypt. The Ipura papyrus shown in many cases, brothers and sisters, is not Israelites plagiarizing from Egyptians, but rather an Egyptian speaking about the situations that he saw in the Middle Kingdom of Egypt, according to the Egyptians' standpoint of view, from their point of view, brothers and sisters. All right, so just want to show that, brothers and sisters, for reference purposes. All right, let's continue. Thank you for the time in that. The Hyksos in Egypt and the captive shown. Now, the Hyksos that you see there on, we're going to show with the picture here, right, being circled, comes from the Tanis Hyksos. The Tanis Hyksos, brothers and sisters, is shown in the Cairo Museum. These Hyksos, I contend, not for debate purposes, but in my book, I state that the Amalekites that Joshua, under the leadership of Moses, fought in Exodus chapter 17 were eventually those Hyksos that wound up ruling in Egypt and Egypt's 15th dynasty, or what they call the intermediate period. How were these Amalekites, whether they came from the house of Esau or not, be able to go and conquer in Egypt? Is because, remember, Exodus 13 says that Pharaoh got his best warriors and his best chariots. So by then, your army was defeated in that particular case. Now, what you're looking at, we're going to show, brothers and sisters, all right, over here, highlighted, circled, if you will, in the yellow, right? A captive in the Middle Kingdom of Egypt. Do you know, brothers and sisters, that right there is inside the Hecht Museum, Hecht, the Hecht Museum in Israel, where is the Heck Museum in ancient Israel will be where the tribe of Naphtali was, for those who are interested. So again, just want to point that out for reference purposes. All right, let's continue in this, giving honor and praise unto the Most High. The matter of Yehu in Hebrew. We want to show, brothers and sisters, why we say what we say and what we're talking about, brothers and sisters, for edification purposes. Many Israelites are already familiar with those kind of matters. I want to show in a picture here again, the book, my camera, from Avaris to Alabama. You can get this book by title online. It's available for $10, an abbreviated version of what we went over earlier. All right. So, Yehu, king of Israel, 9th century BCE, shown bowing down to Shalmaneser III of the Assyrians. Yehu is mentioned in the Book of Kings, brothers and sisters. Now, for people who try to say that, oh, there's no reference outside of the Bible of the Israelites, that's incorrect. Look it up when you get the chance, even on Google. K-A-R-K-A-R, or spelled Q-A-R-Q-A-R, the Karkar battle. That is the battle that Shalmaneser III, shown there in the picture, spoke about Ahabu Siryala. Who is Ahabu Siryala? It's Ahab the Israelite. Remember Ahab and how the history connects? He was an Israelite king of the northern tribes in the battle of Karkar. Now, the battle of Karkar is not mentioned in the Book of Kings nor in the Book of Chronicles. So there is an independent reference of Israelites by the Assyrians that's not even in the Tanakh. The Tanakh, the so-called Old Testament, where Ahab is mentioned. So that's something, again, we care to point out to show the evidence of the reality of the house of Israel. And what the theme to in the book is what happened after showing Israelites did exist as captives in Egypt, showing that Israelites did exist inside of the Holy Land. Brothers and sisters, what happened to their descendants from Avaris in Egypt to the people we're going to talk about in Alabama? Stay tuned and continue to watch if you care to do so. Now, Paleo-Hebrew or Ancient Hebrew is what you see on the right-hand side. That is dated to the timing of the prophets, brothers and sisters. Just want to show that that's the Hebrew that ancient Israel would see. Modern Hebrew script is in lingual matters, actually Aramaic alphabet. Some of the kings of the northern tribes of Israel had Aramaic names. Baasha, Elah, Tibni. It might seem Hebrew because it's of the Hebrews, brothers and sisters, but some of their names was actually, for those who are into the lingual matters, Aramaic in pronunciation. All right, let's continue in this particular matter. Thank you for that, family. DayandNightPublications.com. That, brothers and sisters, is my website. I want to give a shout out to the people in the Lion's Den who are allowing me, with me asking, to be able to sit there and present my website and other matters on another people's platform, because everybody isn't open for that. So let's look at this, brothers and sisters, and show with the pen what we're looking at here. What are we looking at? As shown there, circled on the right-hand side. The Ket Bet Resh Nun. Hebron. Hebron was the city that you see of mentioned in the Torah, in the book of Joshua as well. Hebron was a Levitical city. That means it was a city that was designated in part with the tribe of the Levites. Also, that's where King David ruled before his battle with Abdi-Hibda, correct me if I'm wrong, in a matter that speaks of Dadua in the Amana records. We want to point this out, brothers and sisters, so that way there will be no misunderstanding of what we're talking about. When having, as stated, copying the style of my teachers, brothers and sisters, these are things we care to point out for reference purposes. All right. Hebron, again, was a Levitical city of the Levites. Kabar in Hebrew is a verb meaning to tie, T-I-E, or to bind, B-I-N-D. So Hebron or Kabir means friend, because that which is tied, that which is joined together. like the soul of David and Jonathan. And for those who don't understand what true friendship is, they think it's something wicked. Let's continue, brothers and sisters, in this manner. The matter with the Assyrians, as the presentation goes on. Brothers and sisters, Israel, as you see there, 722 BCE. This is documented in Assyrian records. This is documented in the scriptures and so forth. And one of the things I quote contend, brothers and sisters, is that there's no way, shape, form, or fashion that any scribe is going to make up a story of getting what you call today a beatdown. That just ain't going to happen. You understand? So the fact, brothers and sisters, that the Israelites are mentioned goes to show the reality of a particular matter. You understand? Hopefully, this is understood, as we care to point out, brothers and sisters, for, quote, reference purposes. I can be reached again. My number is 908-587-4841. I currently, the way my phone and computer is set up, I can't see any comments that's on the main chat. I just see it that's on my particular channel, which is Yeshiah History Lessons. All right? So just want to point that out. Let's continue, family. They of Lachish, Joshua 15 and Jeremiah chapter 34. Lachish was a city, brothers and sisters, inside of the land of Judah. Mentioning Joshua 15 and Jeremiah 34. Let's point this out. When Babylon defeated the tribe of Judah as a kingdom, because there were Israelites of the northern kingdom that was in the kingdom of Judah, there were Israelites of the southern kingdom that was in the northern kingdoms of Israel, or the northern tribes of Israel under its kingdom. What am I saying? And let me repeat and clarify what I'm talking about. You had, after Solomon, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. The southern kingdom essentially comprised of the tribes mainly of Judah, Levi, Simeon, and Benjamin. Jerusalem, the capital that David set up, is not in the land of Judah. It's in the land of Benjamin. When you go in Joshua, the tribes on the east side of the Jordan being Gad, Reuben, Manasseh, and the tribes on the west side of the Jordan, Dan, Manasseh on the west, Ephraim, Issachar, Naphtali, Zebulun. Those other tribes were defeated by the Assyrians. So what are we looking at on the left-hand side? Is they of Lachish, but Lachish is in Judah, but we still talking, brothers and sisters, about the matter of Assyria. Assyria came to great power under Tiglath-Pileser III in the 8th century BCE and fell when a gentleman by the name, correct me if I'm wrong, Ashur-banipal or Ashur-banilit of Assyria was defeated by Nebuchadnezzar's father, whose name was Nabopolassar. Just want to point that out. So what are we going to do right now, brothers and sisters, is read in the scriptures. I'm going to read in Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 33. This is not part, say, of the PowerPoint, correct me if I'm wrong, but just want to read that so we can let the scripture speak in this particular case with the timing allotted. Thank you for that, family. Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 33, and it reads on this wise. It says this: Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. Correlate that line upon line, precept upon precept. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 30, Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 17. Israel is a scattered sheep. The lions have driven him away, meaning away from his homeland. First, the king of Assyria, like Tiglath-Pileser, like Shalmaneser, etc., have devoured him. And last, this Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had broken his bones. So what do we want to point out too? That we cannot teach Israel that it was only the southern kingdom of Judah and Babylon and the northern kingdoms of Israel and Assyria. Because we just read in Jeremiah 50, first the king of Assyria, then the king of Babylon. What happened to the Israelite tribes that were in Assyria after that happened when Assyria fell? My teacher points out, and sadly, Israel in part became hand-me-down slaves. From Babylon, later on to Media, and from Assyria to Babylon, then to Media, Persia, then to Greece, then to Rome, then to Ishmael with the Arabs, then to the Portuguese. Shh, that's what we're going to talk about. Let's get into this, brothers and sisters, for reference purposes. This is from the false temple, or some say the falsy temple. Now, is that an image of an Israelite of the ancient world? I contend, not for debate purposes, 9 times out of 10, yeah. Because it's during the time when the temple was up, brothers and sisters, for reference purposes. All right? Writing that is of the Hebrews. They had to exist if they wrote. What are we looking at, brothers and sisters? We're going to show with the pen here is part of the Lachish letters. Lachish was a land in Judah. Is not Lachish part of what some of our sisters are named? That's information for those who are interested in a book. Look that up. Lachish is mentioned in Jeremiah chapter 34 as part of the cities that remained after Babylon besieged Judah and Jerusalem. Let's continue, brothers and sisters, in this particular manner. All right. Again, I can't see the comments on the platform that's called The Lion's Den. I only see it on mine. So let's continue in this particular case. The timing of the Persians, Yahud. What are we talking about? Babylon, Nabonidus, or Belshazzar, some people say one or the other, was defeated by Cyrus II. That's when Persia came up as a kingdom. Now, the Medes and the Persians, you see in Esther, you see the Medes and the Persians in Daniel, you see the Medes and the Persians in Ezra, or within the said Old Testament, or the Tanakh, as we properly would call it. Now, by the time the Israelites encountered the Medes and Persians, they were already one kingdom, brothers and sisters. So, by that particular case, Persia and Media were independent kingdoms, but united by the time they encountered the Israelites. When you get the time, buy the book a brother wrote and read about the Murashu era. What is the Murashu? And who is the province of Yahud of the Persians is they of Judah in that particular case? What time frame are we talking about? When did Persia, brothers and sisters, come up as an empire? Under Cyrus in the 6th century BCE. Do we realize, not playing racial or color matters, that the Israelites were around, for the lack of a better term, black kingdoms? Did you know that? They knew the Egyptians because you read about Necho Mahambre of Dynasty 26 assassinating Josiah, king of Judah. So the Israelites knew the Egyptians certainly after the Exodus. You read about Nebuchadnezzar, which is of the Chaldean people ruling in Babylon in the 11th dynasty of such. You read about the Assyrians, which according, when you go into the book by Stephen Jacobs, brothers and sisters, the Assyrians were of the Negroid kind of people due to their features. Why do I mention that, not being, quote, color struck? It's because, brothers and sisters, lies have been told about the true people of the Israelites, how they looked, what they were about, who were they, and where did they go. And that, brothers and sisters, is something we care to sit there and bring out for reference purposes. Again, we hope and pray that everybody is well and will be better. All right? Now, let's look, brothers and sisters, as we continue on in this particular matter. All righty. I'm able to now pull it up to where I can see the actual thing from the Lion's Den on my phone as well. All righty. So giving a shout out, of course, on the human level to my lady Sarai, giving a shout out to my brother Yeshiah Yisrael, and I'm able to see the others Imana, Afro-Asiatic, Christopher, the Lawful. All right. Thank you, family, for participating and joining on. Let's continue in this particular manner. Thank you for that. They who migrated to Egypt. Hold on now. Herodotus was known as one of the first, not to be racial, all right? This is not about that. Herodotus was known to be one of the first white men in Egypt. That was in the 5th century BCE. So the people that were known to be in Egypt before that primarily were what you call Negroid or Caucasoid, not Negroid or Hamitic. We all been siding for decades in the house of Israel, the Zondervan Bible, the Hamites, not the Negro. So whether you're Negroid or Hamitoid, you're melanated, for the lack of a better term. So if Herodotus was said to be one of the first in the 5th century to be in Egypt, that was of the Caucasians, Japhet, and so forth and so on, then brothers and sisters, these Israelites that was in Elephantine that you see in Jeremiah 44, what are we talking about? See, Israel didn't go to England and lose their melanin. Israel went to Egypt and lost their identity. That's what we want to point out in that particular case. The Elephantine Papyrus, written in Aramaic and that being in the lingua franca of the people. Lingua franca is like now where everybody in the world, even some of my friends in Africa, speaking English. What? I thought you were supposed to speak Twi. I thought you was Ashanti. Yeah, but we speak English too. Like, wow. So I'm not trying to take shots at nobody. Because I was born speaking English. I got an English name. You understand? So I'm not trying to take shots at nobody. What I am saying, brothers and sisters, is what the lingua franca is in that particular case. This right here is dated to the timing of the Elephantine Papyrus. Brothers and sisters, I want to show this with the time allotted. Thank you all for the timing. Right? And what we're going to show, brothers and sisters, in this, right, is, if it's there. Nope, that's in the bigger book. Sorry about that. But in your own time, I'm going to type it in, which you can look up. Passover Papyrus. The Passover Papyrus, brothers and sisters, dates to the timing of the 5th century BCE. Why does that become important? The Old Testament, for the lack of a better term, was not translated to any European language until the time of Ptolemy Philadelphus in the 3rd century BCE. So if the Passover Papyrus, brothers and sisters, dates to the timing before the Greeks got in contact with the Israelites, and they're talking about observing Passover, that just goes to show when the subconscious community tries to come at us as Israelites, where can you show they was doing anything in Africa about the Tanakh in the Old Testament? Is right there when you look it up. That's what we care to point out. There are several key points and highlights that we care to point out regarding this particular book that we've been showing and talking about. All righty, let's continue, brothers and sisters. Let the book speak. Though thou only cited outside the scriptures? Question mark. Why did I say that? Sometimes I get comments back after doing a presentation that says, this brother, what is he, scared to cite the Bible? He always got to go outside sources to make his points. No, that's not the case. You understand? The word that came to Jeremiah concerning all the Jews, that is of Judah, which dwell in the land of Egypt, which dwell at Migdol, which is in northern Egypt, Tapanhes. Where's Tapanhes, brothers and sisters? We're going to show with the pen right here, if we will. Thank you for that. Tapanhes is right here, called Daphne by the Greeks. Right? Just circled right there. And at Noph. Noph is Memphis. That we see right here, just circled. And in the country of Patros. Where's Patros? Peteret among the Egyptians, called Patros, is in southern Egypt as you go by Elephantine. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, ye have seen all the evil that I have brought upon Jerusalem and upon all the cities of Judah. And behold, this day they are a desolation, and no man dwelleth therein. Also, the children of Noph, which we just talked about, which is right here, Noph, just circled again, and Tahpanhes had broken the crown of thy head. Tahpanhes in Egypt. So what can we also point out? Brothers and sisters, Jeremiah chapter 2, we cannot think that the Holy Land of Israel is in America in the Western Hemisphere. Because then we got to ask, where is Noph, where is Peteret, where is Patros, and where is Cush? Ezekiel 29, while Ezekiel was in Babylon, was talking about Egypt being desolate from the northern part all the way down to Syene to the border of Ethiopia. Ethiopia is still in the east. So when family, no disrespect to any brothers or sisters understanding, saying that the true Holy Land of Israel is in Peru, in South America, or is in Utah, in North America, the United States, that is incorrect. There are so many questions that have to be asked concerning that kind of understanding. So again, let's point this out for reference purposes. Any questions, as I can see both chats, I definitely sit there and welcome to such. All right, so let's erase this in this particular case and continue. Dated to the timing of Jeremiah the prophet. Subscribe to the channels. That's the same more Yeshiah history lessons and the channel Lions Den. Brothers and sisters, again, let's see what we're talking about here. You know what this is called? A bula. Gamariah. Gamar means what in Hebrew? Anybody? Gamar means to cease. No, pardon me. Shabbat means to cease. I stand corrected. Let me change that. Gamar means to finish or complete. Gamariah. Gemariah. You might see in Jeremiah chapter 40, chapter 41. That is a bula that is said to have been made in his honor, talking about him. Dated to the timing before Herod. Why do I mention Herod? Because the conscious community, and there's no shot at anybody, attempts to sit there and take shots at Israelites, saying, where can you find anything of the Israelites or the Hebrews or the Hebrew Israelites before the timing of Herod? Now, why would they pick Herod? Maybe because Herod was Idumean, friend of the Romans, an Edomite, friend of the Romans, the white man, for the lack of a better term, and so therefore that has to be your catalyst. Because what you're attempting to state on the low is that there were no Israelites. Israelites never existed. The Exodus is a myth. Everything in the Old Testament is made up. The Bible is plagiarized out of Kemet. And these are comments that have been stated as to why a brother attempts to go into these kind of subjects. Next part, brothers and sisters. This is how Israel teaches. Get your pens. 1 Kings chapter 14, verse 15, to let the book speak, brothers and sisters, in this particular case. All right? For the Lord shall smite Israel as a reed is shaken in the water, and he shall root up Israel out of this good land, which he gave to their fathers, and shall scatter them beyond the river, because they have made their groves provoking Yah to anger. What are we pointing out? Brothers and sisters, the Most High lets you know why something is happening. It ain't like the Manetho record of ancient Egypt, no shot at anyone. Oh, the Hyksos came and the blast of God hit us and we don't know why. The God of Israel lets you know why, because like he said in Ezekiel, he'd rather you change from your wickedness and not just give you a beat down and you don't know what in the world is going on. Let's continue, family. Deuteronomy 28, verse 64, mentioned earlier. And the Lord, Yah, shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even to the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. What are we pointing out? What can we point out? When Christian apologists attempt to talk to Israelites, saying it says, Deuteronomy 28 from verse 48 to verse 68 is saying the Lord will bring you to Egypt in ships, is only talking about the Israelites in Egypt. So how do you explain verse 64 that said from one of the earth to the other? And if you're saying that Deuteronomy 28 from verse 48 to verse 68, Christian apologists, if you're saying that that is talking about the Israelites and the Romans, then how do you explain Josephus saying that Titus of Rome took Israelites that was in Alexandria, Egypt, and shipped them to Rome for the triumph and to sit there and parade the sons of Judah around Rome? See, when you hear the statement, such and such people don't read, there's a reason why some state that. And what does Solomon state? And all you're getting, get understanding. Zechariah 7:13, verse 4 to 14. Therefore it is come to pass that as he cried, meaning as the Most High cried or called out, and they will not hear. So they cried, and I will not hear, saith the Lord of hosts. But I scattered them, Israel, but I scattered them with a whirlwind among the nations, which they knew not. Thus the land was desolate after them, that no man passed through nor returned, for they laid the pleasant land desolate. The pleasant land desolate, the holy land in the east lay desolate. That's why you see it looking the way that it does today. I asked the community in Israel, the Mona, may Ben Ami rest in peace, for those who do know who I'm talking about. I said, there's a teaching in the United States, right, that the Jerusalem they show on TV is not the real Jerusalem. And they looked at me, because they probably thought, and it's not to be funny, I was going to come with drama. No, I'm coming with a question in geography. And they said, yeah, that land that you see on the news as Jerusalem is truly in the land of ancient Ephraim. The real Jerusalem is in further toward the land called in the book of Joshua, Arad. Remember in Jeremiah, right? When the Most High said during the time of King Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, that he would take Jerusalem and flip it upside down like one does a dish. So the Jerusalem that you see on the news is in the Holy Land, yes, but it's not the location of where the old Jerusalem was that King Solomon was at. We just want to point that out. All right? So just want to point that out. Now, what else can we point out, Israel? Two things. The so-called Jewish man talking about this could be his heritage and things of that kind of nature. This is not your heritage, because you're going to have to explain why you say, and if you're listening, and it's not to be disrespectful, speaking with some call the classical Hebrew, atem omrim lo hishtakawitem lamase kot hagoyim. You say you never bow down to the idols of the nations. But ancient Israel did. First King says because they made groves, provoking the Most High to anger. So do you claim that, Jewish man? Do you claim that you went against the laws of Hashem? Do you claim that you went against the laws of the Most High God? Because if you can't, then you can't be the people that Isaiah and Jeremiah and before that Hosea spoke to. You can't be the people that laid the pleasant land desolate in the timing of Zechariah, which was during the time of the Medo-Persian Empire, brothers and sisters. So these are things, brothers and sisters, we care to point out for reference purposes. Let's continue, brothers and sisters, in this. Sources of the matter of the scattering. There were many Hebrew, parentheses, Jewish tribes that are of indigenous African, parentheses, so-called Negroes origin. These, quote, African Jews caught in a rebellion in Cyrene. Cyrene is in North Africa and Libya of today against Roman imperialism. It marked the beginning of a mass, quote, Jewish migration southward in Sudan, West Africa, because West Africa at one time was called Sudan. Quote, Black Israelite immigrants, I got to quote exactly as the author states, we know what it is. Black Israelite immigrants from Northern and Eastern Africa, and I contend that Israel, the land, is in Northeast Africa, merged with the indigenous groups of Western Africa to become, quote, the Fulani, Borno, Kanem, and Lake Chad, also forming the parent stock, quote, of the Ashanti, the Hausa, Bene Ephraim, and Buvumbu. Now, why do I cite this here? Brothers and sisters, because this is from who they call Dr. Ben in his book called African Origins of Major Western Religions, is where that citation comes from. Dr. Ben came from the Israelite or Hebrew community called Beta Israel, or the Falashas in Ethiopia, but he decided to, quote, for a lack of a better term, jump ship and go over to the, quote, Kemetic way. But even in that, in his book, he talks about the Israelites. Joel Rogers stated in his book, 100 Amazing Facts About the Negro, that the characters of the Bible are largely Negroes. Chancellor Williams stated in his book, Destruction of Black Civilization, that the ancient Hebrews were white. So what do we want to point out? You have two men, Chancellor Williams and J.A. Rogers, both born in the 19th century, stated in individualized books that the characters of the Bible, which would by default be mainly the Israelites, were largely Negroes. Then somebody comes along later in his book, Chancellor Williams, Destruction of Black Civilization, saying that the Hebrews or the Jews of old were white. See, sometimes you got to sit there and play the card. That's what I had heard from people. And I said, how are you going to sit there and say that when the Israelites was all around melanated or quote black people of the ancient world? Well, in order to get certain things out, you got to do that. Then you may as well not have stated anything as opposed to stating a lie. And if you happen to make a mistake in your book, correct it. Next part. Why the scattering happened? The sin, Jeremiah 17, verse 1 and verse 4. The sin of Judah is written with a pen of iron and with the point of a diamond. It is graven upon a tablet of their heart and upon the horns of their altars. Verse 4. And thou, even of thyself, shalt discontinue from thy heritage that I, Yah, gave thee. And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in a land that thou knowest not. For you have kindled a fire in my nostril which shall burn forever. So Israel, when we are asked, well, what you're talking about, Negro, when you say that you're the people of the scriptures, did your grandparents do this? No, my grandmother and grandparents ate pork. They were not in this understanding. My great-grandparents bowed down to Caesar Borgia. No, they were not in this understanding. But what does it say right here in the prophet from the Most High? And thou, even of thyself, shalt discontinue from thy heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies. So, Jewish man, did you ever serve your enemies? Can you claim to be the people that stood in front of the great King Solomon of Israel? That's my baby. No such and such, that's my baby. The dead one is yours. Give me my child. We read the scriptures, but I contend that those women in the time of Solomon were not, oh my Lord, my king. She took the baby and gave me the dead one. You don't want to see women go at each other over their child. We talking, while if I may say, hood, for the lack of a better term. It was not, oh my Lord, my king. If I had found favor in that sight, it was like, yo, I'm about to bash this such and such head. Yo, give me my baby before you see the concrete or the dust or the dirt or the sand. I'm going to go over there to that next city and pick up that stone and clobber that such and such word. We're going to keep the language clean. You don't want to see sisters who are mothers going at each other over their children. Do you claim that as yours? Jewish man, do you claim to be the people in the book of Judges that the scriptures talk about where they molested a woman all night to where she died and then her husband cut her in different parts and gave her body parts to the 12 tribes of Israel? Or are you part of the Israelites that kidnapped the Levites and said, you're going to be my priest? See, if you can't claim the dirt of Israel, then you can't claim Israel. If you're claiming the Levitical priesthood and the Ark of the Covenant and the menorah and Hanukkah just passed and the great thing with Sukkot and the Feast of Booths and the Feast of Tabernacles and the Yom Kippur and the Day of Atonement, if you're not claiming the sad part of the history of Israel, be quiet. Because you got to explain what happened from 135 AD or 135 CE to 1948 when you went in there under the Balfour Declaration. Where were the people of Israel in the land at that time? From the timing of Hadrian of Rome, when he said, and what they call, correct me if I'm wrong, the Bar Kokhba battle with Rabbi Akiba, if you come in this land, we're going to cut your Hebrews' heads off. So what happened from then to the timing when you went in there with your list? Let's continue, family. matters regarding the citations. There is also evidence that many of those time-honored allies, the Canaanite/Phoenician inhabitants of Tyre, we see Tyre in Ezekiel 27, for those interested, were forced around the same time to quit their city. They moved all the way across the Mediterranean to found Carthage in what is now Tunisia. Tunisia, brothers and sisters, is in northern Africa. So again, we want to, brothers and sisters, while we're talking about what we're promoting, this information is in this book and more in this book on this. All right, from Avaris to Alabama. You can get this book on Amazon. All right, again, shout out to the Lions Den for allowing the brother to sit there and come on their platform. I generally don't go on other people's platforms, and I generally just stay on mine, but I appreciate the respect and so forth in that particular manner. All right. Sir Harry Johnston is of the opinion that the Phoenicians were a Semitic tribe. That is of Shem. The Greek way of saying the Hebrew Shem is Sem, because in Greek phonetics there is no SH syllable like the sh in Hebrew where you get shalom and so forth and so on. Closely allied to the Hebrew stock. Again, inscriptions indicate that certain tribes of Asher, which is the 8th tribe of Israel, and Zebulun, which is the 10th tribe of Israel, lived in Carthage since the founding of the city. Remember Carthage with Hannibal, right? Why do you think they want to give Denzel Washington a problem playing Hannibal? Because what you're doing is you're looking at modern Syria and modern Israel after the Ptolemies then invaded and after the Ottomans then invaded, and not looking at the ancient forms of it. You understand? Let's continue, family. In Africa, the first Jewish graveyards, we know Jewish, we got excited as the author stated, we know it's Israel, right? Graveyards to be noted are those of Carthage, in which Jewish, which we know is Israel, catacombs are recognized. Do you know that on my platform, over Yeshiah History Lessons, I showed the catacombs that show the Israelites in the Hebrew in the graveyards there? Let's continue. Of all the Jewish colonies of Africa, the most flourishing is probably that of Carthage. And I cite my citations, refer to The Bible is History by Ian Wilson, and the other one called Hebrewisms of West Africa. Most of us heard of that book by Joseph Williams. You can get all of this on Amazon, family. Who went where? Phoenicia. Now, Phoenicia is from the Greek word meaning purple. Why does that become important? Because when you go in your own time, I'm asking you to subscribe to the channel, More Yeshiah History Lessons. Phoenicia, Tyre, is in Ezekiel chapter 27. Who went where? You're familiar with these lands, right? Bethlehem, Japhia, Hilamore, Shunem, Yezreel, Megiddo. Megiddo is in the ancient, is the land where the ancient tribe of Naphtali, where the ancient tribe of Issachar was. All right? Merom is where the part where the tribe of Naphtali was. Phoenicia, we see here, is partly where the tribe of Asher was. So when we correlate what we're talking about, and we see here, brothers and sisters, all right, Asher and Zebulun, miss me, no disrespect, we're talking about the North American continent is where the land of Israel is next. Let's point this out. While we get from Phoenicia to the map there showing Negro land, from Avaris, which is in Egypt, to Alabama. Let's see how this maps, timelines, name dates, and places correlate all together. Thank you for the timing, family. Her settlement was called Hadast, new town. The Greeks transformed the name into Carthedon. The Romans Carthago. The Latins gave the name Africa to the region around Carthage and Utica and followed the Greeks in calling it Semitic population Phoenicians. The sieges of Tyre by Shalmaneser of Assyria, Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, and Alexander of Greece brought many wealthy Tyrians to Africa. What am I pointing out? By the Assyrians, the Babylonians, and later on the Greeks invaded the city of Tyre that you see in Ezekiel chapter 27, Tyre and Zidon, which you see also in the book of Joel. Let's go there, family. So get this line upon line and precept upon precept. I'm going to be reading not out of the Masoretic text of the Tanakh, but from the regular King James Version, because that's what most use. Let's go to Joel chapter 3, brothers and sisters. In the book of Joel in the Bible, chapter 3, let's see what it says. Verse 1, for behold, in those days and at that time, I will bring forth again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. I will gather also all nations and will bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat. Jehoshaphat meaning the Most High will judge. Let's continue, brothers and sisters. It goes on to say, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations that parted my land. All right. We are reading in Joel. Somebody asked what's going on in here. Shalom, my brother, Jeremiah, Judah. I was just reading in the book of Joel, chapter 3. It goes on to say, what the nations have done, scattered the people and parted the land, right? And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for a harlot and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink. Let's get into this. Yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon? Tyre and Zidon, we just read right on the PowerPoint. And all the coast of Palestine or Philistia. Will ye render me a recompense? And if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head? Because you have taken my silver and my gold, and carried into your temples my pleasant, goodly things. The children of Judah also, and the children of Jerusalem, have you sold to the Grecians, that you might remove them far from their border. So what are we talking about, for the lack of a better term? You had Hamite nations that were of the Zidonians of Canaan, selling the Israelites of the tribe of Judah to the Japhetic people of Greece. What do we say commonly as Israelites? Hamites sold Israelites to the white man. That was going on and talked about in the scriptures in the book of Joel. See why they partly may have quoted the Old Testament? See why they try to make history boring? Brothers and sisters, these are things we care to bring out for edification purposes. Let's continue, family, with the timing allotted. Let's look at that. What you see there on the left-hand side comes out of a map from the book Hebrewisms of West Africa, brothers and sisters. And in that, it says, coming out of Jerusalem and migrating to parts in Western Africa and the southern part of Western Africa, which we know later on was part of the slave coast where we were taken and brought here. That's what we want to point out for reference purposes. On my platform, brothers and sisters, called More Yeshiah History Lessons, I did a video called The Diaspora, Hebrew or African. And in it, because somebody made a comment saying, oh, it was the Africans who was taken. Since when did they become Hebrews? And what we're talking about, brothers and sisters, is that the peoples that were taken out of Africa and diaspora were the Hebrews that dispersed in Africa. Why you think in so many cases you don't find hardcore African governments saying come back home? Why is the black man landless in the Western Hemisphere, Caribbean and North America? Well, Caribbean is part of North America. United States and Caribbean, but yet the land of Israel is vacant of its true inhabitants. It's sitting there as a desert, and we're sitting over here landless. We're sitting over here vineyardless. We're sitting over here without our own vine and fig tree, working for one man to pay another man a rent or mortgage. Making sure you get there on time to sit there and pay another man what the Bible calls tribute. Not paying tribute caused the Israelites to get besieged on a political level. But having to pay tribute for your land is part of the curses from the Most High God. You shouldn't have to pay for your land in that case. Just have to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. So these are things, brothers and sisters, we care to bring out for reference purposes. All right? Thank you for that, brothers and sisters. Let us let the book speak. Thought I swayed, question mark. Why do I put that, not taking shots or being condescending? Thought I swayed, because I have heard people say, well, when Yeshiah teaches, he doesn't really cite the Bible. He goes all over the world, goes all over the place. No, I cite the scriptures mainly. And it shall come to pass in that day that Yah, the Most High, will set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left. Stop. And Isaiah was during the time when Assyria was ruling. The people that are left, what happened to the others? Scattered, dispersed, replaced. From Assyria and from Egypt and from Paphros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea. All of those lands is in what you today call Africa and Asian lands. Assyria, Egypt, Pathros, which is take you toward the Sudan. Cush is Ethiopia, we know that. Elam, brothers and sisters, is Persia. Shinar is in Iraq, which they call Sumer in the ancient days. Hamath is over by where Tyre was in the islands of the sea. Could be the Mediterranean Sea. More than likely, let's continue, brothers and sisters. And he will set up an ensign for the nations and shall assemble this outcast to Israel and gather together dispersed to Judah from the four corners of the earth. So I want to highlight, son, if we may, what part of what this book presents, right? Gather together is the same thing as, brothers and sisters, assembling. And we want to color code it different, if we will, here, brothers and sisters, and looking at it with this: the outcast of Israel and dispersed of Judah. When you read in Ezekiel about take one stick and write on it Ephraim and write on the other stick Judah, and it shall be one stick in your hand, and it shall not be two kingdoms anymore, but one. When you read it in Ezekiel chapter 36, Ezekiel chapter 37, right? We cannot think that only Judah was scattered and Israel wasn't, or that only Israel was scattered and Judah wasn't. That's why I wanted to point out in Isaiah 11, when it says assemble is the same as gathering together. Being outcast and being dispersed is the same thing. Israel and Judah shall be one again. Ezekiel chapter 11, again, the word of Yah came unto me saying, Son of man, thy brethren, even thy brethren. Now, what tribe was Ezekiel from? Signing the book, the tribe of the Levites. It goes on to say, the men of thy kindred and all the house of Israel, holy are they unto whom the inhabitants of Jerusalem have said, get thee far from the land, unto us is this land given in possession. So when you have people in place of the Israelites in the land during the time of Ezekiel, while Israel and Judah was in Assyria and Babylon, the people who were the Philistines and the Edomites, when you go in your own time in Second Chronicles chapter 28, you read about them going into the land of Judah and Jerusalem when the kingdoms of Israel and Judah fell. Who am I talking about? Edom and the Philistines are the same people that you still see there now that's telling us, the true house of Israel, get up out the land. Therefore, thus saith the Lord God, although I have cast them far off among the heathen, and although I have scattered them among the countries, yet will I be, I, Yah, the Most High, will be as a little sanctuary in a country where they shall come. So don't say we can't keep the Lord's statutes and commandments in the lands of captivity, because the Most High stated he will be as a little sanctuary, which means something sacred. The Most High didn't put us in captivity for us to say, you know what, we here, we can't do this, so we may not keep no laws. That's wicked, brothers and sisters. All right? It goes on to say, therefore say, thus saith the Lord God, I will even gather you from among the people and assemble you out of the countries where they have been scattered, and I will give you the land of Israel. So when you find sometimes, no disrespect, Israelites saying, the Bible don't ever say the land of Israel. It's in Ezekiel chapter 20. It's in Ezekiel chapter 11, where the citation land of Israel is mentioned. All right, let's continue, brothers and sisters, as we close out. Get the book on Amazon.com. By 70 AD, there were thousands of Jews, which we know is Israel, in Seleucia, which is over by Greece area, on the Tigris, and in other Parthian cities. Who were the Parthians? The Parthian people were the remains of the Persian Empire. So wherever Persia had ruled, according to what we're citing right here, there were Israelites among them. They were numerous in Arabia. So when you go from the book back from Babylon to Timbuktu, right? From Babylon to Timbuktu, in that book, when it mentions Israelites in Yathrib, Yathrib is in Saudi Arabia. So, excuse me, when we cite this book here, all right, the name of this book that I got this from is called Caesar and Christ, written by a guy named Will Durant. And in it, he says by 70 AD, there were thousands of, quote, Jews in Seleucia on the Tigris and in other Parthian cities. How does this tie into the book a brother published called From Avaris to Alabama? Let's continue. They were numerous in Arabia and crossed thence into Ethiopia. They abounded in Syria and Phoenicia. In the West, they were Jewish, which you know is Israel, communities in Carthage, which is in Tunisia, Syracuse, Capua, Pompeii, Rome, Puteoli. If I mispronounce anything, pardon me, brothers and sisters. So just want to sit there and get into this, brothers and sisters. If I'm looking at the comment correctly, Gideon, Yard in Israel, I think you asked or stated Habra. So if there was a question concerning the PowerPoint or was presented, please let me know. Thank you for that. Let's continue, family. A matter regarding slavery. Let's tie this up, brothers and sisters. George McDuffie in 1835 made a speech regarding the natural state of the Negro. No human institution, in my opinion, is more manifestly consistent with the will of, quote, God, that domestic slavery and no one of his ordinances is written in more legible characters than that which consigns the African race to its condition as more conductive to their own happiness than any other which way they are susceptible. President Wilson in the White House showed the Ku Klux Klan as, quote, good Americans. In the era of Roosevelt, a black woman was not allowed to sing in the White House, so they showed the lady singing outside the White House. President Buchanan was, he said, homosexual, sided with the South in the era of slavery. The 14th Amendment of the Constitution allows the government to have those who are incarcerated to become slaves. President Kennedy did not help black people. He deceived black people. Former President Carter attempted to pacify blacks during the situation with Trayvon Martin. The former governor of New York, Patterson, tried to pacify blacks in the matter of the Sean Bell verdict. Politicians do not like black people, and this is what we wanted to point out just with that right there. Let's go in the scriptures, brothers and sisters. We're going to be reading in Leviticus chapter 26, if we will. Right? Leviticus 26, verse 17. And let's see what it says in this particular case. Thank you all for the timing. All right. It goes to say here. And I will set, Yah will set my face against you, and ye shall be slain before your enemies. They that hate you shall reign over you, and ye shall flee when none pursueth you. They who hate you shall reign over you. 12 presidents of the United States were slaveholders. And even more in the Senate, even more in the Congress. Just wanted to point that out, brothers and sisters. Let's continue, family. References of the Israelites. Besides the book From Avaris to Alabama, one can get the book Deuteronomy 28:15-68, History Untold to the Masses. All right, and we want to, brothers and sisters, show on the camera what we're talking about. Thank you all for the time in this particular case, right? This is the book we're talking about. You can get this online. This is also in the description. There we go. Deuteronomy 28:15-68. History Untold to the Masses. This book is online for $10. All right. You can look it up by title of such. Other book we care to show, brothers and sisters, with the timing allotted, again, is From Avaris to Alabama in this particular case. All right. Just want to show that for reference purposes, if we will. Thank you for that, family. Next book we care to show, brothers and sisters, is this book here, Egypt Talking Writing. Did the Torah come from the culture of Tameri? Tameri being a part of ancient Egypt, because some people say the Israelites plagiarized from the Egyptians, so we wanted to sit there and cover that concept. The Egyptians did not state they taught the Israelites. The Israelite culture and the Egyptian culture is different. For instance, the Egyptian priests would cut their hair daily. Israelite priests are not supposed to make baldness upon their head when you read Leviticus 21. Israelite priests in Ezekiel 44 have locks. So therefore, that just go to show you that they did not, brothers and sisters, was into cutting their hair like that in the Israelite priesthood, unlike the Egyptian priesthood. All right? Just want to point that out. Let's continue, family. In the book, I know that black is a byword. If I'm looking at it from the comment from None of Your Business, black means dead, and the people of God are not dead because God is not the God of the dead. Yes, understood, but trying to reach out to the people while speaking, no disrespect intended English, speak to the people in a way that people will understand. So that's why I use terms that are, say, like black, Negro, things of that kind of nature. It is generally known and yes, understood that that is a byword. Just want to point that out. Thank you for that. In the book, The Negro in the United States by Edward Frazier, we see it appears from the scanty information available that, quote, the Bible was used to impress the Negroes that they, as the Israelites, could throw off the yoke of slavery and that God would come to their aid. Brothers and sisters, Edward Frazier, in his book called what? The Negro in the United States. You know what time frame he's talking about when we in slavery, we were calling ourselves Israelites? You heard of Gabriel Prosser? That's what that's talking about in the state of Virginia. So, brothers and sisters, what can we point out? In the time of Gabriel Prosser and the slave revolt that happened at that time, right? Thomas Jefferson was the president of the United States, and James Madison was the governor of Virginia. So if we have it in 2023, going into the new year, according to their calendar, into 2024, if we have it to where they were saying, being the slaves, that they were the Israelites in the time of Gabriel Prosser, then definitely the governor of the state and the president of the country at the time knew it. If we know it now, let's go on. Oluda Equiano in Igbo, which I understand is pronounced as Igbo, stressed the similarities between the Old Testament Jews, the Israelites, and those of his own people. Like the Israelites in their primitive state, our government was conducted by our chiefs or judges, our wise men and elders, and the head of the family, with us enjoying a similar authority over his household, with that which is ascribed to Abraham, Genesis, and the other patriarchs, Isaac and Jacob. The law of retaliation obtained almost universally with us as with them. What is the them in this case? Them here is the, quote, the Old Testament Jews, mentioned by Oluda Equiano, who lived in the 1700s. Even their religion, which we know is the culture, appears to have shed upon us a ray of its glory. For we have our circumcision when they do on the 8th day. And we had our sacrifices and burnt offerings, our washings and purifications. There's definitely no disrespect intended. It's not even of the European way, because they considered washing up as a waste of time. And on the same occasions as they did. So when a woman went through her menses after that, she had her washing and her purification. When a baby is 8 days old and a male, you do the circumcision in that case. So these are things, brothers and sisters, we care to bring out for reference purposes. Any questions, please feel free, as I can sit there and see both comments in that case from my channel and the Lions Den channel now. Let's continue. Who did this happen to? And among these nations, you may want to get the children out the room. I'm going to type that in, family. What we're about to get into as we close out, you may want to get the children out of the room, because what we're going to discuss at this point in closing out is not for, sorry to have to say that, so the timid. And I'm not saying children are timid, but there's a reason why a brother is saying that at this point. Harriet Tubman, a lady with a skirt on. Did you know that today Israelite sisters that make skirts, There's an Israelite sister having a business where she could take a pair of quote unquote women's pants. We're not going to get to the women's pants and skirts. That's not the main issue. And take your pair of jeans, sister, and make a skirt out of it. That's skill. Did you know? Excuse me, sorry. I am from, as I introduce myself, what you call an Old Testament brother, a Tanakh-based brother. I come out of, not to be funny, New York. I remember seeing when they called the One West camps. I remember seeing them in the 1980s teaching on 42nd Street in Times Square. I remember seeing them with the Hebrew on their belt and the buckler and all of the gold ornaments and all of that kind of stuff that those who talk about, oh, they look like Power Rangers. Those outfits, when you start making shots as a man against another man, which seems kind of weird, to use my lady's term, that's weird. It's usually women talk about clothes. When a man takes another shot at another man based on clothes, that's not alpha male. That's not the Samson spirit. That's not the Lion of Judah spirit. That's not the spirit that Barak had with Deborah. That's not the spirit that Gideon had when they said they who lap up the water or they who use their hand in the book of Judges. Men don't take shots at other men's clothes like some brothers and sisters, and I sad to say just brothers, some men take a shot at brothers' garments that you might see teaching in the street. And I am personally not even from those schools. Do you know there are sisters that talk about paying their rent from all of the stuff that they get for Passover garments? Did you know that? Did you know there are sisters that state they got to get their Passover orders at a certain time in Israel before the month of February because they're already booked up? It's called being interdependent and not dependent. Relying on your own self and getting your own stuff established, O sons of Jacob, O you children of Israel. That's what we're talking about. So to the people who are walking around with other nations' clothes and with foreign apparel, that Zephaniah 1 verse 8 talks about they who are clothed in foreign apparel, as opposed to the garments that Isaiah chapter 52 talks about, put on thy beautiful garments, O Jerusalem. There's a certain way that Israelites were looking, brothers and sisters. Did you know that? There's a certain way that Israelites were looking. So our mothers were not wearing pants. As we see even in this painting, the people with pants on are males. She is there with a shotgun with a skirt. And you do not want to contest her, brothers and sisters. So let's continue. And among these nations there shall find no repose, neither shall there be no rest for the sole of your foot, but Yah the Most High shall give thee there a trembling heart and failing of eyes and languishing of soul. Who did that happen to? And that is just a painting of what truly did happen. Let's continue, brothers and sisters. The understanding of us being Israel is not new. This is the year going into what they call 2024. In 1996 was this newspaper article came out when I was 16. You know you got Israelite camps that date back to the 1970s? Do you know you got Israelite camps that date back to the 20s? What does that point out? See, the Jewish man's Holocaust in Germany is younger than our people saying we are the children of Israel. Did you know that? So we were not taught this from, quote, Jewish people. We were taught this by the Spirit of the Most High. So this is something we care to point out. So if I'm being asked, do I be with Mighty Hebrew? Sometimes Jeremiah, Judah. Sometimes I've done presentations with Mighty Hebrew, if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's where I know you from. But you had another name. You had another name, didn't you?
My name is Yeshiah. Sometimes people call me Kashu.
Yeah, the Danite.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was you. All right, go ahead, brother. Continue. By the time you made it back over here, go ahead.
All right. Thank you for that, elder. Thank you for that. Deuteronomy 28. The stranger that is in the midst of thee shall get above thee higher and higher. Thou shalt come down lower and lower. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Who owns what? The music industry. This is coming out with everybody talking about who owns what. Why is a European man your godfather to your children? The music industry, the cotton, oil, steel, magazine authorship, meat packing industry, whether it's clean or unclean meat, perhaps, the liquor business, the loan business. Every time you break a seal on that, that's a government seal. And I'm not telling nobody don't get your drink on because we can't drink our wine. So I'm not saying that. But the loan business. Brothers and sisters, I've taught in the college. Do you know who they have in the front is the so-called minorities that are over there in the front high, but the people who run the stuff in the bursar office, which is the school college terminology for the bank who runs it, yeah, it ain't us. So just want to point that out for reference purposes. Let's continue and close out. Am I not a man and a brother? That was a plaque that was used in slavery. Hung in Assyria, shown on the bottom left-hand side. Hung in America, shown on the bottom right-hand side. And on the further right-hand side, from Assyria to America. Do we see a similarity, brothers and sisters? We see a man in chains on his knees, used as the United States emblem of slavery with the abolitionists. And here we see Israelites of the tribe of Judah, or from the kingdom of Judah, northern or southern Israelites, on their knees. See? From Assyria to America. This is Assyria over here being circled. This is America being circled. And here we see the people of Lachish being lynched, hung in Assyria, hung in America. Do you know why this happened? Because sadly, Israel went against the Most High. That's why we got to return back to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God. And it's easily done, brothers and sisters. History means nothing if you're not going to tell the people to return back to the Most High. Let's continue. In our parents and our time, when they had those riots in California, correct me if I'm wrong, the Watts riots, that in part is what you're seeing there. And 2 young black men lynched in Oklahoma, which was less than 20 years ago, by 4 whites, and is getting no media attention. Brothers and sisters, these are things we care to bring out for the reference purpose. That's why I said you may want to get the children out the womb before we sit there and get into this kind of subject. Look up those names so you can see what information we're talking about. Let's continue, family. They who bought the, you know what, and sold them. What am I pointing out here, brothers and sisters? That's from the movie, The Godfather. And in that movie, The Godfather Part 1, they were saying, well, you know, you could put the drugs in, I was supposed to say that word, sorry. You could put the D stuff, you know, those illegal substances inside of the quote, you know what community. And here we see from the movie Paid in Full, who is selling it. And how they take what happened in our community and who brings it into and how it is highlighted. The movie Paid in Full, based upon what happened in the 1980s in Harlem, was not that far timing in a movie coming out in the year 2002 before Harlem was extremely gentrified. Those who are from New York or know about Lexington and 125th Street in the 1980s, you would not see anybody that was lighter than light skin. Now, they walk with their dog. Now, they're jogging at 3, 4 a.m., going to Starbucks, right in Harlem in 2024 to be. Why? Because they made the movie Paid in Full just to show how, quote, the Negroes was acting and then sit there and gentrify it. So with this thing called Rise of Canaan, or this thing they got on Netflix, this is South Jamaica, where the rap group Onyx come from, for those who are familiar with it. They're preparing the people to have it changed over from one people to the other and gentrified. Just like Paid in Full showed that in the year 2002, and you see where Harlem is now, who's there, who's running it, who's operating it, who's in those brownstones, and then you can sit back and look and see what they're talking about, all of these houses in South Jamaica, as stated, where the rap group Onyx come from, to make the correlation what they call raising Canaan on Netflix where everybody's doing crimes. They're doing that for a purpose, brothers and sisters. There's no rest for the sole of our foot that Deuteronomy 28 talks about. Who can claim it? Say as so. These are things, brothers and sisters, we care to bring out for reference purposes. Let's continue, brothers and sisters, in this. Hugh Thomas, in his book, The Slave Trade, spoke on how, for the lack of a better term, blacks were used to build houses in Pennsylvania. We're going to keep, as I stated, you may want to get the children out the womb. Thou shalt betroth the wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build a house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not use the fruit thereof. Rosie McMillan, in her book, quote, Why Do Black Men Choose White Women? Stated in slavery, the black man will be told, your wife has some good. No filter. You shall betroth the wife, and another man shall lie with her. In slavery, they would have the Negro man, the slave black man, outside the room while he hears his wife getting molested in the background. The slave master will come out and say, your wife got some good, no filter for those. We're going to keep the language clean. That's documented in slavery, brothers and sisters. So when we read, sadly, that light shall hang in doubt before thee, you had mothers being given birth in the 1920s and 30s and praying and saying, may the Klan not lynch my son. That has happened, brothers and sisters. I can be reached at the number 908-587-4841. Website, danitepublications.com. Brothers and sisters, the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil against his brother, and against the wife of his bosom, and against the remnant of his children whom he hath remaining. The Lord will smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. Thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not make thy ways prosperous. And thou shalt only be oppressed who is oppressed and robbed always. Oppression maketh a wise man go mad. That's in Ecclesiastes. Who's known for being mad? Oh, you having a black man moment. You must be upset at the world. Let's continue and bring this out, family. And there shall be none to save thee. Madness, crazy. We pack the mental institutions, blindness, blind to history, culture, land, language of one's people. Grope at noonday. Grope. To search blindly with hands with uncertainty. What are you doing? What goals do you have? Ain't for up your herd. That is part of what some people have talked about. Did you know, brothers and sisters, there was a song in the 1990s, where you going to be at 5 o'clock in the morning, outside on the corner, get yourself together. That was a song, brothers and sisters, in the 1990s. I forgot who the artist was. What are you going to do at 5 o'clock in the morning? Nothing. Outside on the corner. Get yourself together. Who is at the head of the street in Isaiah 51 with their hand in their private parts full of the fury of Yah, if not our brothers? I'm in New York. All you got to do is take the B14 bus and go over by Mother Gaston Boulevard in the area called Brownsville in Dumont, and see exactly what that prophecy in Isaiah 51 is talking about. They hang at the head of the street full of the fury of Yah with their hands in their privates. That's in the scriptures. Whose book does this belong to, brothers and sisters? Who is groping at noonday? What you doing? Chilling. It's what it is. That kind of spirit. Blindness to history, culture, land, language of one's people. Let's continue with the time allotted. They in Cali, they in the West Indies. This was made, brothers and sisters, to show what this is talking about. How do you have, because somebody has a different color garment on, you willing just to have the grave right there, like it says, partly sadly in Jeremiah, and death shall be chosen over life. So you willing at 17, 18, 19 year old to sit there and quote, die for your sect, as they call it. What are we doing, brothers and sisters? They in Cali, they in the West Indies. Why do I point that out? When we start talking about our captivity, Let's look at this, and I want to point this out with the timing allotted. Thank you all for that, right? A mask with a lock in the back of it, and this with the yoke of iron. You know where we're going, right? Let's go to Deuteronomy 28 to let the book speak, brothers and sisters, for reference purposes. Deuteronomy 28, verse 48, brothers and sisters, and let's see what it says in this case. Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies, whom the Most High will send against thee in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things, meaning lacking all things. You want all things because it's the lack of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he has destroyed thee. Thou shalt serve thy enemies, whom the Most High will send against thee. And that's how we came here, hungry, thirsty, and naked. Then it goes on also to say, Deuteronomy 28, verse 37. Deuteronomy 28, verse 37. And that shall become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword. African American, 2 different continents. West Indian, that's not us. And black, which is not really our color. You want to see black, brothers and sisters? Let's look at this for reference purposes. See, this is black. You can see my fingers. My skin tone is brown. The book that I'm holding, now that's black. There's no language called black, brothers and sisters, so there cannot be an ethnic people called black. That is a byword. That is not your nationality. But we are the children of the Most High. Exodus 4:22. Israel is my son, my firstborn. But they will call you, like the elder said, they will call you everything but a child of God. So they got to call you 2 different continents. They got to call you a color. They got to call you things, brothers and sisters, that are made up in the past 200 years. You shall plant a vineyard and shall not use the fruit thereof. We read that, right? So when you have a mask on in slavery with a lock in the back of it, so you can't eat the fruit that's there. You shall plant a vineyard and shall not use the fruit thereof, with a yoke of iron upon thy neck. Let's continue, family. And this is something we're going to talk about, no disrespect intended, and we're going to close out soon enough. W. Gibson and B. Banks. The tender and delicate women among you, who will not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be evil against the husband of her bosom, and against her son, and against her daughter. Do you know who that is in that picture? This happened over in California. She made a false rape allegation when he was 16, and he was locked up for, brothers and sisters, 5 years. And then when he came out, she inboxes him on Facebook and says, let bygones be bygones, kind of thing. Then she was recorded after receiving $1 million from a college over in California. And they want their money back because she was recorded that she lied about the situation. The tender and delicate women, her eyes shall be evil toward her brother. That's what this is talking about. Brothers stay talking about the stuff they go through with sisters, and sisters stay talking about the stuff they go through with brothers. You understand? His eyes shall be evil against his brother. Case in point, what we're seeing right here. They make movies that show the prophecies of what we've gone through. Let's conclude, brothers and sisters. Let the book speak. This is from the book of Isaiah, and this is the last slide of this. Why should you be stricken anymore? You will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick and the whole heart faint. When a black man, Tyler Perry or otherwise, got to sit there and portray yourself as a woman, the whole head is sick, the whole heart faint. You couldn't get a lady to play that? You are changing the status of the said black man into becoming an old black woman. The whole head is sick and the whole heart is faint. From the sole of the foot, even to the head, there is no soundness in it. Hello, knock, knock, whoop, whoop. Anybody there? No. But wounds and bruises and putrefying sores. They have not been closed, neither bound up, neither mollified with ointment. Me and my lady saw a movie earlier, and the nurse in the movie was saying that this has to be stitched up. You just can't, the bleeding is not going to stop.
And that's what happened with us in our condition and our sickness. The whole head is sick, the heart is faint, going astray more and more. You know, went astray from loving each other as brethren to where the men want to sit there and be the women. Your country is desolate. Your cities are burned with fire. Your land, strangers devour it in your presence. And it is desolate as overthrown by strangers. And the daughter of Zion is left as a cottage in a vineyard, as a lodge in a garden of cucumbers, as a besieged city. What are we pointing out, family? That I stated, you may want to get your children out the room. Just saying. The daughter of Zion is left as a besieged city. So who is besieging the daughters of Zion? Every other nationality but the said brothers. Swirling. We can sit there and get somebody or somebody else. Let's see what other people's got to sit there and offer. I don't want to be pigeon-toed listening to quote Negroes. And the daughter of Zion is left as a cottage in a vineyard, as quote a besieged city. Everybody's and everyone's understanding has been into the head and the mind of our sisters, which has been taught to the children because the man has dropped the ball. It has become like that. So what we got to do is put the ball up, like it says in Ezekiel chapter 20. Follow not the ways of your forefathers, O house of Israel. Cease to do evil, learn to do well. That is what Ezekiel and Isaiah also talks about. Except the Most High of hosts had left unto us a very small remnant. We should have been as Sodom, and we should have been like unto Gomorrah. Brothers and sisters, this ends the presentation, as you see in that particular case. And giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator, the Maker of heaven and earth. We want to, brothers and sisters, show the books that we were talking about as we did earlier. You can get this. My number I'm going to put into the chat. Thank you for that. Brothers and sisters is 908-587-4841. My email, if I may, is yyisrael22@yahoo.com. And regarding my number, you can text me, WhatsApp me, call regular, so forth and so on. Brothers and sisters, these books that you see there are listed as $10 on Amazon. If you care to get a personal copy from me, you will have to reach out to me for such in that manner. I would like to take out the time, brothers and sisters, and show this book here. All right, Chronicles of a Black Woman's Soul in and Out of Time. This is a poetry book written by my lady, Sarai. All right, the link of this is inside the description. So if you want to buy it, the description, you can look into it and see the link for that in that particular case. All right, for those who are interested in that particular manner, thank you for that. All right, want to show with the timing allotted, thank you for that. This book here, From Assyria to America, Part 2, a lot of history. This, if you're into pictures, this is the book for you. All right. Again, you can get all these books online, if you will. Israelite history as it relates to the world, the cover is different. But, brothers and sisters, this book too gets into a lot of the Maccabees and what happened with Israel during the Greek and Roman empires. And also what happened with the Ottomans and where the Israelites were in that particular case. All right. This shows Egypt talking writing. This is the bigger form of the book that you see right there in the center of the screen. All right. For those who are interested, thank you for that in that particular case. All right. Just want to show it properly to the best of my ability with that. All righty, family. Let us, again, the book of honor, if I may call it such, that I'm mainly promoting on here is this book here. From Avaris to Alabama, The Journey, Travel of the Hebrews. For those who are interested. Written by myself. The person who made this cover is a brother by the name of Chief Naphtali Dan. All right, so just want to point that out for those who are interested in that case. All right. Brothers and sisters, generally, I don't show myself on it, but I'm going to respect the audience and show at least me, who you've been listening to for over an hour, was definitely appreciated, and giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator, the Maker of heaven and earth. Hopefully, everybody is well. and will be better. My number is there for those interested. Shalom.
All right, man. Hey, brother, I ain't seen you in years. I'm glad you're back in action. The brother been writing books for years. I've been knowing him since I first came in the truth. I used to question him all the time on Facebook Messenger. Him and Zion, Mighty Hebrew. This is a powerful brother. He been on a couple. I think he been on Sarnetta before. So the brother is legit. So support him. Put your cash app in the chat, brother. And y'all support this brother and his information. He's a very powerful brother. Go ahead, Sister Kareem.
Yeah, anybody want to come on and ask some questions in the next 2-3 minutes? It's okay to come on here or build with what he had to present. If you interested in the information, he got a link in. I think the link is in the chat to where he's at, and he actually, if you rewind it, you will actually be able to hear what where he say he's located at, and where you can get the information and where you can buy the book at. Don't you have the Amazon link so I can present it up here for the people?
Shalom. Thank you for that. Brother Elder, no, I never was on Sign at a platform. But I've been on the South Showtime show, I've been on Maccabees TV, and so I've been on those platforms myself in that case. The Amazon thing is inside the description in the link in that particular case. So if you look at the description on the channel, you will be able to see where those books are there. And I appreciate you all wanting a brother to be supported. I encourage it, and subscribe to both channels, and thank you for that.
All right. I got a question for you. Where you been hiding?
I'm going to be quite candid and giving honor and praise to the Most High. A brother has not been hiding. I'm engaged and going to be getting married. So I don't really be on a lot of platforms or teaching as I used to in that particular case, because my life is a little different right now. I give honor to Yah for being in a courted relationship for over 2 years. And it's definitely a growth. I want to say, and I say it to the world, and it's not in any show off or anything like that. I know what Isaac felt when it said he was comforted for his mother, because I lost my mother, and I got a Rebecca kind of woman in my life, a Proverbs 31 that definitely is about the Most High.
That's good, man. I'm just glad to see you back in action. When I first came to the truth, I mean, you know, I don't agree with everything 100%, but you was an inspiration. Hebrews in the Hood, Mighty Hebrews, Zion, Tazariot. But, you know, as I grew, I started to form my own opinions about different things that I read. But I say that to say this, you were an inspiration in my spiritual growth, and I thank you for that, brother.
Cain, thank you for that. Giving honor and praise to the Most High. It definitely is an honorable thing to make that impression. And I too was impressed by other brothers, other sisters, their platforms, what was being presented, and so forth and so on. Like I spoke about my teachers earlier, I don't think that I would have been motivated to become an author if it wasn't for reading the book, as I think everybody got in the house of Israel, From Babylon to Timbuktu. You know, that right there, From Babylon to Timbuktu, you might see now on there From Avaris to Alabama. And if you are a teacher, a Semore, or anything of that kind of sort, give your predecessors and who influence you their respectful due. Don't sit there and say, I taught myself, I had no teacher. That's wicked. You understand? Deuteronomy chapter 33, it says about the Levites, they sit at thy feet receiving of your words. So everybody got a teacher or one who influenced the other.
Mm-hmm. I used to ask y'all all kinds of questions. So so yeah, that's good, man. I'm happy to see you back, brother. You come back on more often. You know, it was second home. Lions ain't open for everybody. And, you know, like I said, I don't have to be here for it to operate and keep going like I used to in the beginning. You know, so I thank y'all very much for supporting the Lions Den. Support this brother, support Sister Karima. Karima, you know what I'm saying? She worked hard. She got a family and all that. But she take time out of her day, her night, to open up the platform to let everybody get their information out. So, you know, get her inbox sometime and put some money in her cash out. Anybody ask for no whole bunch, but like I said, this is a job as well. This is work. See? So, yeah. Thank you very much once again. I yield. Did anybody want to come on? If not, brother, you want to make some closing statements?
Can I be heard well?
Yeah.
All right, cool. If I can be heard well, yes. I want to make closing statements if nobody else had anything to state. I don't profess to know everything, and I'm open to constructive criticism. As you can see, the telephone number has been stated, 908-587-4841. And when a person has not gotten, say, a direct message from the Most High, say, go and teach this, go and speak this word, but rather, like it says in Leviticus, you make yourself an offering or your free will offering, you better make sure that you're teachable. You better make sure that you know what you're saying is on point. You better make sure that you know you have the humility to sit there and say, let go and let God, for the lack of a better term. I know some people say, let's not say God, but let's just say Yah, let's say El, let's say Elohim, let's say, some say Yahuwah, Yahweh, Yahweh, so forth. We're talking about the Most High, the creator and the maker of heaven and earth. Brothers and sisters, this right here was to expound upon the matter of Israel being scattered, showing where they was at in Egypt, showing the map of such, showing the evidence of the kingdom of Israel, showing the matter of Israel that happened with Assyria, Babylon, Medes, Greeks, or Persia Media, Greeks, Rome, what happened with them being scattered into Western Africa, and citing different sources in order to do so, brothers and sisters. This is to present that, not to be funny, that Israelites are not afraid to, quote, go outside of the biblical text in order to sit there and get a point across. Deuteronomy chapter 11 says that the nations know that Israel was brought up out of Egypt. So if the Torah in Deuteronomy 11 is telling you that, then there must be evidence of such. And that is what motivated a person to go and say that. Like it was stated about me, may have been on Sinetta channel. No, I wasn't. But when, say, not to talk negative of anyone, when they began to try to go against the Israelites, and those who remember the debates and everything like that with X, Y, and Z person and so forth and so on, right? When you have in your feelings and your parents died in this understanding, like I have no mother or no father that's alive now, right? May they both rest in peace. And you kind of like on your own in this, you may want to just put the challenge there to see if what you was taught as a child is the truth. And I think the Most High, that he has shown that his word is true, that it is not made up, that it is not a hoax, that it is not a myth, that is not plagiarized, and so forth and so on. So we're going on 2 hours in this. I thank you all for the time. Thank you all for the compliments. If you all care to support, you can get the books on Amazon, as you see there, by name and title. My number, again, I'm going to state is, brothers and sisters, 908-587-4841. Brothers and sisters, and on the human level, this would not have been made possible without the pushing support of my lady, whose book I am going to show yet again. It's inside of the description as well for those who are interested. All right, so you can look in the description to get a poetry book. I promote my own history books and her poetry book. The book of Psalms is poetry in the scriptures. The book of Chronicles is history in the scriptures. So in the scriptures, you got poets and you got historians. And ultimately, it's about the laws. Giving honor and praise to the Creator. Shalom. Most High bless. I yield. I go now. Shalom.
Peace, brother.
Peace.
All right. I want to give a shout out to the brother, man. Like I said, I know him by the Danite, Kashu the Danite, but he has a distinctive voice. So I'm like, man, that brother no show do sound familiar. So yeah, it was who I thought he was. I'm glad he back in action. Like I say, brother, just be your second home. You come on here anytime you want to teach, promote your books, your wife's poetry, things of that nature. That's what the Lions Den is all about. Support each other. You see. So yeah, man, I'm happy to see you again. I've been wondering about you because, like I said, I haven't seen you in years. It's been at least 2 years, at least 2 or 3. Because when I first came into the truth, like I said, I used to question you, Zion, Mighty Hebrew, Hebrews in the Hood. You know, Michael Edwards, all you guys was an inspiration to my spiritual growth. So once again, I want to thank you. Like I said, everybody hit that like, share, and subscribe. Lions Den is one of the most fairest platforms out there. I don't know if fairest is a word, but god dang it, I'm using it today. You hear me? So, yeah. So, yeah, keep up the good work, Kareem. You know what I'm saying? I'm taking my little break. Sometimes I need a break, man. I've been going hard since 2013. At one point, I did like 4 debates back to back to back to back. That was draining. And then, like I said, when we was doing this debate thing with the 32 debaters, gathering all those people up, it was stressful. It took a lot of energy out of me, especially when it didn't work. But I want to give a shout out to Black Jesus Minister. You know, uh, he did it his way. He did his thing. Shout out to the brother Reverend Charles for winning that tournament. I heard his sister Christina's going to appeal it. I mean, to be honest, you shouldn't even been in the championship anyway. I'm not being disrespectful. That should have been Neo's spot. We all know that Neo won that debate. But it is what it is. What we're going to do, I talked to Black Jesus today. His top 3 debaters will be going up against some of our debaters over here, which we know we're going to mop the floor with them. But with that being said, Cream, you want to get us out of here with a song? And oh yeah, one more thing. Shout out to Aaron Yahudim. He went over to Sarnetta's and got another victory. He 2-0 over there. The audience voted for him 58% to 38 or some 50. How do 60, 40, 38, 50, 32%, 58 to 32. So yeah, we steady rocking and rolling over here. I talked to Captain Tazariak yesterday. Me and him trying to come up with a title for another debate. That'd be like our 4th one. I done slapped him around about 3 times, so I guess he didn't get enough. He didn't get enough of the JJ 7000 educational ass whooping, so I got to give him one more. Katazar ran, Garfield ran, Jabari still running. I'm one of the most feared debaters on this goddamn planet. So, like I said, I'm happy. I'm gonna be getting back in action, getting in the debate ring. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. Let's keep up the good work. I love y'all. Peace and blessings. Creamer, get us up out of here. Shalom. Thank you.
Alrighty, so that's it. Shalom.